Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 3, and this is going to be my trailer breakdown for Episode 9 for this season, otherwise entitled simply as The Dress. But of course, we're not going to watch the trailer because WBTV keeps claiming stuff, but we will play like little sort of smidge clips. Smidge clips? Is that even a word? I don't know. We'll just go with it. Smidge clips and screenshots and stuff throughout the video, so do not worry. But of course, last episode was a big exposure, reveal, mic drop episode for a couple of different reasons. But the big thing is that, you know, Bruno found out that John Henry was Natalie's dad. We get a bit of a re-altercation in the public eye. A lot of family drama goes on. But of course, it's revealed to pretty much everyone, but I guess more specifically Superman and I guess John Henry, that Pia, you know, Bruno Mannheim's wife and Mateo's mother, is Onomata Pia, the sort of mercenary assassin that's been killing people, and that we know is attached to, you know, the death of this Earth John Henry. So there's still more story to be told there, and that might come out in this episode, but there's nothing in the trailer that explicitly says that's going to be revealed, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case, but that's a wait and see. But of course, right at the end of the episode, we do see Bizarro come back to life, reanimate, looks very zombie-like, especially the eyes. But yeah, we'll discuss that throughout this video, what might happen there. But before we jump into the actual breakdown of the trailer and talk about it, we will quickly read out the synopsis or description for the episode, as it does give us a bit more context in regards to a couple of different things. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on this, what you're looking forward to most in this episode, any theories and predictions, always let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm always curious. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, you're looking forward to the episode, everything like that, just want to show support, drop a like, takes 2 seconds, really appreciate it. Lois confides in Lana. Superman and John Henry clash over how to handle Bruno Mannheim, while Lois worries over upcoming treatments and confides in Lana. Confides in Lana, that's I think the best way to say it, about her early courtship with Clark. Meanwhile, Jonathan, Jordan, and Sarah work together to help Natalie deal with the aftermath of meeting Mateo's family. So the first thing to say before we actually jump into talking about stuff from the trailer and moving into this episode, we are on break, but it's only 1 week off. So there's no episode next week. I think the episode would air on the 16th, I think. Yeah, 16th, because +7 from when it aired and -7 from the next date. So yeah, 1 week off. This episode, episode 9, will air on the 23rd of May, so the week of the Flash series finale. Not too sure why there's a break next week. I don't know there's a specific reason. We do know that next week are the CW renewals. Actually, funnily enough, I think it's on the 16th, so maybe that's why. Maybe they don't want to air any shows when they make announcements for what's happening going forward. But yeah, so just no episode next week, so you can take a week off. So here's the thing. There actually isn't a ridiculous amount this trailer shows, which it actually isn't a bad thing. I'm definitely not complaining. Despite the fact this is a trailer breakdown, you'd probably want more in the trailer, so there is more to talk about. But I think the trailer actually really nails what the episode will focus on and still gives you enough to talk about in this video. But it also just gets, you know, it nails what the episode's going to focus on for the most part, as well as where it propels this season and the story after this episode. But you might be wondering, well, what is that? Well, let's discuss it, obviously. So the trailer really focuses on the whole exposing of Bruno Mannheim and everything coming out of the closet, out of the shadows, whatever you want to put it. But I guess also the compassion that Superman or Clark has with the situation, I guess due to what Lois is also going through. Like, I definitely didn't go into this season thinking we were going to get too many parallels, if any at all, between Superman or Clark and Bruno Mannheim. But the fact we are is actually a good surprise, because I think it's actually developed pretty well. I think it is folded in pretty well and definitely not shoved in your face out of nowhere. I know there's people that aren't too happy with the Kansas storyline, but I think it's actually been handled in a very fluid way, in a very organic way. It's definitely not shoved in your face either. I've seen people saying that. I definitely disagree with that. I think it's just showing the day-to-day struggles with it, but it's also not overloading the big picture of the show, which I think is all the season. So I think it's actually being handled pretty well, but maybe I'm in the minority, I don't know. But of course, at the end of last episode, we saw that Superman took Pia, or Onomata Pia, to the DOD to, 1, save her life, and also 2, after the saving, keep tabs and sort of monitor her and just, you know, what's going on there. But of course, Superman has these reservations about whether keeping her, I guess, effectively locked up in the DOD as a prisoner with no access to her family is really the right situation, with John Henry being like, my guy, my dude, she just tried to kill not only me, but also you. And I got really close to dying. Like, I'm really lucky you showed up. And it appears that difference in opinion will continue in this episode, as we do have Superman talking to John Henry, or as the synopsis says, clashing with John Henry about keeping Bruno away from his dying wife and the moral questioning of all of that. Now, of course, we've got John Henry, who's got this other connection to it and everything like that in regards to what his doppelganger went through and how it affected his doppelganger's family and everything like that. But then Superman's got that compassionate side because he can see an angle of where Bruno's coming from and the struggles he's going through. So it really does set up why they're clashing. And that sort of has me like interested in something, whether or not it's actually revealed in this episode, is whether Pia is going to die. Is there a path where she can recover, or are there circumstances where it's more of a, running the clock down situation rather than a potential path to healing? Like Pia has X amount of weeks or days or months to live, but there's no, sign that things are going to get better. That's obviously a wait and see, because if that's the case, who knows where that leads not only Pia, but also Bruno to doing some drastic things. But that's, as I said, it's a wait and see, but I'm just very curious as to what's going to go on there. Not only in this episode, but potentially the episodes to follow leading into the end of the season, if that's still relevant come those final episodes. But as we can see in the trailer, it does look like Bruno Mannheim and his past actions, like we saw in those flashbacks, have been exposed, and he is being taken down for them. Now, the big thing is that in those flashbacks, Pia was the one that killed all those people, which we of course know Lex was arrested for and charged with, but Bruno didn't kill anyone. At least we didn't see him kill anyone on the screen. But, even in that scene in the last episode with John Henry, like, Bruno's pretty ruthless, and he looked like he was gonna kill John Henry. So he's obviously done some other dodgy dealings in the past. But even just being an accomplice to Pia in that flashback annihilation, I guess you could call it, scene, is probably enough to be charged with. But if Bruno is potentially being charged with those crimes that Lex was charged with and sent to prison for all those, Lex was sent to all those prison all those years ago. I mean, it probably means Lex is getting out at the same time. It'd be like almost like a prisoner swap. Hey, I'm going in, or you're going in, and I'm coming out. Freedom. So that maybe could happen, but I think if that's going to happen, it's going to be like, right at the end of the episode, or at least in the final 5 minutes or something along those lines. Now, of course, towards the end of last episode, we did see Lois and Clark talking at home about the situation around Lex Luthor and their part in taking him down back in the day for those crimes, which we know, as I said, he didn't commit now. So that worry about how Lex might retaliate, in regards to what Lois is thinking, I think that's quite warranted. And it now makes sense why this Lex Luthor that is coming into the show, maybe by the end of this episode, has been described as a more dark and ruthless take on the character, no nonsense. The guy didn't do it. You'd be annoyed if you got in prison for all those years for something you actually did. So imagine being in prison for that long for something you had no part in, let alone even knew what was happening. You were like, wait, what? Who died? What? I didn't even know about that. So you'd be triggered, and you've been able to sit there for, I guess, almost 2 decades, if not over 2 decades. I'm not too sure exactly what year it was that all this happened, but you've been there all that time simmering over that, just thinking about it and planning your revenge. If I'm Lois and Clark, I'm like, ooh, we're in trouble here. Now, here's the big question. More flashbacks. Are we going to get more flashbacks, or could this maybe just wait for episodes once Lex is properly established? So when I say more flashbacks, I mean specifically for this 9th episode. Now, the thing is that we do have Lois confiding in Lana, and they talk about, the synopsis talked about, Lois is talking about her early days, the courtship, which is when you're first, boyfriend, girlfriend, you're first having those romantic, feelings and going on dates and whatever it might be. So those early days. So I think we might get some flashbacks to them maybe outside of the Daily Planet. Maybe going on their first date. The episode is called The Dress. There is a shot in the trailer of Lois in a red sort of shiny sort of dress. So maybe this is the dress that Lois wore on their first date, or their first something, maybe their first anniversary. I'm not too sure what it would be. So we might get flashbacks to those events. But even then, if there is flashbacks this episode and it's just around those more personal things between Lois and Clark, I'd assume we get some stuff with Lex Luthor in some way. I think we will. I'd be actually sort of surprised if we didn't, unless they sort of want to keep that a bit of a grey area, because for those that don't know, it was suggested that if Lex was, well received come the end of the season, he would be in season 4. So maybe they would save those flashbacks for a potential season 4 if that happens, but that's a wait and see. But we do know that Bitsy Tulloch, who plays Lois, said that she did film flashback scenes for this season, and it was in the back half. So I'm not too sure if it was specifically this episode, but it sounds like we might get it based off the synopsis. So yeah, maybe we get to see some of those earlier interactions there, and then maybe in episodes to follow this, if they do it, there's more earlier interactions between Lois, Clark, and Lex, as well as Lex and Superman. Because I would assume the relationship in the present day, once Lex gets out, at least from Lex's side and perspective, will be more firm and grim than in the past when he might have been a bit more cocky. So yeah, I'm interested to see what that take is and just the reactions from Lois and Clark. Now, in the trailer, we do see Bruno at Henry Miller or Adam Man's tank. So I'm assuming he's going to be let out again, maybe to target the Kents, or maybe for another specific reason, maybe to get Pia out of the DOD. Bruno might find out that's where she is. So he's like, well, go there, do this. Because we saw Deadline, that other character from, a handful of episodes ago, he got into the DOD. So you think, Henry Miller would be able to do the same. So that might be where he's sending him. Go get my wife, bring her here, everything like that. And speaking of that lab, Bizarro. So I said earlier in the video that obviously at the end of last episode, we did see Bizarro wake up, which doesn't necessarily mean he is back in action this episode. We do see him in the trailer lying on the chair, but maybe that means there's going to be some experiments there. Not too sure. But of course, we just saw that he managed to come back to life after God knows how long, after being killed back in season 2 with that zombie-ish sort of eye look and, very weird. So he might actually be more like Bizarro from the comics now, like he took like a zombie, something like that. Or at least he could be that maybe in the first 5 minutes or something after being reanimated properly and everything like that. But I'm not too sure exactly what they would do there, but they could do something funny like that and a bit of an Easter egg sort of reference there. But unfortunately, no promo images, which I'm not surprised with because we're on a week's break, so it'd be sort of weird if they released it this early. So yeah, nothing to go over in regards to that. But of course, thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode, what you're looking forward to the most, any theories and predictions, everything like that. Always curious to read them. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.